But our problem is, my brother,
What's her problem, doctor?
our problem is we've got massive disrespect and we've got despair in terms of people giving up, in terms of participating at all. I mean, what is it? 40 some percent of our fellow citizens don't vote at all. They
No, they
don't
don't.
participate in the
And
system at all.
and only
They
about
just,
9% to 2% in local elections to begin with. That's also a
yeah,
massive problem.
that's exactly right. So they just look, oh no, this big money is taking over. These politicians are nothing but extensions of money and extensions of various constituencies. They won't take a stand on their own. They're obsessed with the next election. They're obsessed with the next interview on television. Where are the Abe Lincolns? Where are the Martin Kings? Where are the Fannie Lou Hamers, the persons who exemplify integrity, honesty, decency, willing to be unpopular in the name of integrity and trying to make integrity more popular?
But couldn't a
Yes,
criticism be levied against you that you are trying within the system to run for president to reshape the system? Is
yeah,
so? How do you
that's
contend
true.
with that? That while you're saying, well, it's all these people who are working within this system, really perpetuating it, but you're kind of like doing the same thing, are you not?
No, that's true because all of us are betwixt and between. I believe in an inside outside strategy. I've been inside of the academy for many years, but critical of the academy.
Okay.
I've been inside the church, very, very critical of the church.
Hmm.
I've been inside movements, very, very critical of movements, right? Because I always preserve my freedom to think critically for myself, to think against the grain. But I want to do all that I can to make sure that save the planet. Ecological catastrophe is very real. Fossil fuel companies need serious, not just regulation, but transformation and
Yes,
oversight
of
and a
course.
move toward renewable and regenerative energies. I'm concerned about the wealth gap and the greed at the top. We need a massive transfer of wealth from the well-to-do to poor and working people. We don't need to have the levels of poverty and levels of homelessness and unhousedness in our cities and towns,
Hmm.
in the richest nation in the history of the world. And people say, well, Brother West, that sounds like revolution. Well, revolution is a sharing of power. It is a sharing of resources. It is a sharing of dignity. And when workers are able to gain access to some of the high profits, that's a sharing of resources. And there's no accident that the trade union movement and its fights for living wages were viewed as revolutionaries by the owners of factories and the owners of big property. Same is true with women
Yeah.
against patriarchy. Well, we want to share resources and dignity. We don't have to live in this hierarchical situation in which women are confined. Well, we needed a transformation. We needed a certain kind of revolution vis-a-vis patriarchal institutions and so on.
Yes.
And I agree with that. And certainly it's true in regard to white supremacy.
But the same is also true of the way in which voters are disenfranchised, right? So, like, what is your stance, or like, what are some of the laws or things that you would push for to kind of stop gerrymandering and stopping the splitting and packing of predominantly black districts in this country that has really disenfranchised the black voice in this country once again? Even like, we expected after the civil, I mean, Americans, a lot of Americans expected after the civil rights movement, or even how they're taught it in schools, very whitewashed version of history. Well, in the background throughout the 90s and early 2000s and even now, gerrymandering once again has disenfranchised minority votes in this country. How do you go about dealing with that if the mechanism by which these people exercise their vote is the system that is stopping them from voting to begin with?
Yeah, a lot of that has to do, though, brother, with the narrow two-party system that we've for too long been locked into, the corporate duopoly. The parties going at each other, trying to engage in gerrymandering in order to reproduce themselves at the top. If we had ranked choice voting, if we abolished electoral college, if we had proportional representation, there would be more choices that people would have, and therefore there would be more forms of accountability of the two parties that are involved in the gerrymandering.
Hmm.
What has happened at the moment is that both parties are so tied to big money, tied to big military expansion. You got bipartisanship on relation to Wall Street, relation to Silicon Valley, relation to big money, and in relation to military adventurism abroad. You can get Democrats and Republicans, they agree on that wholeheartedly, as much
Of
as they
course.
claim to be at each
Yeah.
other's throats.
Just like
Oh,
Democrats agree
come
on
on.
Israel. They just,
Yeah,
when you look
oh,
at the ballot, when
absolutely.
you look at the ballots,
That,
it's checks all the way down. Yeah. So,
that's exactly right. You say, oh, I say, well, see, gerrymandering is one particular manifestation of the very ugly consequences of our two-party system. So you get the Machiavellian response to each other, knowing that nobody else is there to keep either one accountable.
okay.